you're at. You got the window.
Where on your side? Do we
I
have to
love I
whisper?
love the background. No, I mean, I'll talk at this volume.
Everybody's sleeping still, 5:30
Everybody's
a.m.
sleeping. Yeah.
We decided to change our late evenings to early mornings and have a morning coffee. What are you having?
Yeah. Coffee.
Are you black?
I have it's Laird Hamilton. It's like coconut sugar and coconut. I don't know. He's got like a superfood thing, but it's basically just sugar and cream. Coconut cream, that's what it is.
Is that a coffee
Yeah.
or some sort of earth or mud?
Art
Oh,
and
it's a coffee.
coffee.
Oh, sweet. I didn't know you drink coffee.
Yeah, I love coffee.
Me too. It is the thing that I don't think I will ever give up of. Ever, ever, ever.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
had I've had periods of time where um I did caffeine pills for a while, and then I used to use pre-workout, which has too much caffeine, so I didn't need coffee. But now I don't do any of that. I just drink a little bit of coffee in the morning.
Easy. Never heard of coffee pills. But I guess it's American thing. Us Europeans, we just stick with coffee as a social drink and nothing else compares it. Okay. Well, we're doing 30 seconds for the third. Is this our third time or the second time?
Second, I think.
Well, we have tried, and I think if Melissa is listening to this, we love you. I love you. And I kind of want to just touch base on how we digress or flow or surf the waves together with Gene Keys. And we have tried in the last couple of episodes to do a little different technology. And
Hmm.
we're back to Zoom. And what we both discovered is that it doesn't work because we can't connect. And when we
Yeah.
can't connect, this whole thing doesn't make sense. So now I can see you clearly. Oh my God, I feel home. It touches my heart deeply because I can see your eyes. I can see you clearly. You're not pixelated. And it makes the whole difference. So we tried for a couple of episodes and we're redoing this one because we both agree it didn't work.
Hmm.
And this whole thing is rather a connection than just doing it the perfect way or kind of, it means a lot
Hmm.
to us as a feeling, as a healing process as well. So I'm glad to be back. And
Yeah.
this was just a little intro from Melissa. So when she comes back in and out and walks in, is always welcome. We love you. We love you. And thank you for being our number one fan.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything to say on the last trials and failures and changes?
Um, well, it's funny that we're in the 30-second shadow of failure, right?
It's perfect.
It was like it stemmed from the desire to optimize everything and provide the best experience for the viewer. But in doing so, like you said, we lost our ability to connect. And in that, it was like we would log on, we would see each other initially, and then I'd hit record and it would pixelate and I could feel your frustration, but you like stuck with it. You were so good. And then over the course of like the hour, it just felt like distance between us. Because it's like you're imagining, I'm imagining how you're reacting, and it just doesn't, it's just different. And I think this is like a very good metaphor for potentially the age that we're entering into, which is one where we are hyper immersed in technology and the temptations to um, make human connection like productize it or make it like, there's going to be robot companions. There's going to be AI that's your friend that's already showing up. So this is probably a good reminder for us to establish the closest connection we can. And, if we live closer, I would say we should be doing this in person because I think that would also have a richer flavor to it. but doing the best with what we have and remembering, it's not about going from 720 pixels to 1000 or even 2000. It's about I can see you, you can see me, you can feel me. We can transmit energy. We can transmit the energy to people that are watching. That's the most important.
Yeah. Oh, so well said. It feels, um, as you were talking, it's like the connection because I wrote down on the gift, which is preservation. And I have this in my vocation. And what's interesting is that it only gets activated after the Venus sequence. And I reviewed my Venus sequence recently and I was like, but what is the quality that I'm getting attracted to? What is the quality that I'm attracting towards me in any type of connection with people? And it comes down to breaking the limits or breaking the structures that we have placed upon us, my vocation. And it has to be rooted in equality. And believe it or not, the thing that I wrote down when I read the preservation as a gift was love
Hmm.
and connection. And I
Hmm.
was like, nothing will make sense that it touched me so deeply because it is so freaking true that I cannot do anything unless I am deeply in loving connection with it. And I cannot be in loving connection with a pixelated cartoon. I can't. and 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 I can't. And it pulls me away. And it also pulls you away because you can sense it. And
Yeah.
I love that. And we failed royally.
Mm.
And
Yes.
we stuck back in our Zoom. And I also think maybe, you know, we do have a plan to meet one time, maybe this
Hmm.
year or next year,
Hmm.
and kind of at least do like an episode or 10 of them at once and see how that works. Because being present with someone in a proximity, because, when we did what is it called? When we did the prompter, you
Mm.
were so far, I couldn't even.
Yeah.
Right. So my brain very much read it as you were like a 10 foot away from me, but not this personal, not this close. So
Mm.
I give it to Zoom.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
give credit to Zoom because I feel you. And imagine if you're in the presence, physical presence. And I think I love that. And I actually need that in my connections. I will fail if I am imagining, like you said, you being here. Yes, my mind can take me there, but my body also needs some sort of connection as well. And I always remember that one. I heard it somewhere and says, even when you're mad with your partner, you always go to bed together. And
Hmm.
that was one of the things that one of my partners actually taught me. It's like no matter how mad we are at each other, we always go back together and we sleep. Why? Because bodies heal
Yeah.
on their
Hmm.
own. So
Yeah. And
anyway,
in immaturity, my temptation in fighting is like, all right, I'm sleeping on the couch then, or like really gonna show like I can't even sleep next to you. And Carly really, she's a great fighter, but she's so good about being like, yeah, no, come to bed. Like we're sleeping together.
consistent.
And yeah. And then if you want to fight in the morning, we'll pick it up. But usually you wake up and it's gone.
It's healed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to
Okay.
ask you,
Yes.
having invocation is a very interesting place because it's the core wound of your Venus sequence. And maybe that's where the shadow shows up. And then the gift resonates a little bit more in terms of the pearl sequence. Did you find, like, when I read through this, I'm like, the shadow, I'm like, okay, didn't really have much, didn't really have like the depth for me. And then I get to the gift and I start to have these like sequences of connection. And then I get to the city, and this one's interesting because sometimes with the cities, I'm like, I don't know, that was just whatever. But this city, I was like, my body's buzzing and I'm like feeling really good about it.
Mm.
So can you tell me in your experience with having this one, did you, my guess would be you have like some resonance with the shadow in terms of the wound or maybe feeling the wound of humanity as a whole. And maybe the gift shows up more for you in the pearl sequence, or how does that show up for you?
Yeah. And I was thinking about that as well. And I was like, okay, so where did I feel it? Because, you know, growing up, and I think he explains it, like it actually has to do with the womb and the shadows that we inherit. And it's called nicely, he called it ancestral reverence.
Mm,
So he really explains it very nicely when he talks about us having this fear to preserve ourselves or almost to sustain the humanity or to extend. And I am born in the family of such an orthodoxy, not religious, but very patriarchal. And I was actually expected to be a boy so I can extend the last name and the line. And my older sister was female, and then I happened to be a female too. Unexpected. At that time, they really didn't have the analysis to know ahead of the time what the baby's gender is. So
mm,
when I was born, I was actually rejected fully by my father's side, and then my mom left. And by the time I think I was born, even outside of the house hold, and then when I was 2, they divorced. But to this day, the way I was rejected because I didn't extend, because of their fear of not having an extension in the family, which is interesting because my father then remarried, and now I have a half brother.
mm.
But my sister didn't extend her, she got married and took her husband's last name. I never got married, and I actually
Right.
carried the last name,
Yeah, I was thinking that.
which is so ironic. And I ended up being disliked all the way up to my success years when I left the country, learned the language, became successful, and then I became just this ornament for his side of the family where they would just pride themselves on having me, which I think it's so ironic and really interesting. But why I'm saying this is because their fear carried over for me, how I felt to deal with that way of rejection all my life, even to this day. It's almost like I can feel unloved, unlovable, which carries me. And I don't really know which shadow that falls on because we carried someone else's fear and then that kind of replicates differently and kind of forms itself out in our life later on. But that way of me growing up in 0 to 7 or in a womb, I actually, because of that, I was able to evolve so much into other shadows. So it was in a many way a gift, but I never had a fear of not
Hmm.
being extended how they had it, as if it stopped on me. And I never had a fear of not having money to preserve myself.
Hmm.
I have it, but it's not mine to carry. Almost like it doesn't stay with me longer. And I'm okay
Hmm.
with, I was actually really okay with so many times sleeping on the beach and not having, you know, when I was in my 20s and 30s and I came here in the United States as well. It's like I really didn't have that fear of not being able to survive, or I would figure it out.
Hmm.
And I just did the interview this week with a friend of mine who lives here in LA, and she said something that can cause so much fear, but actually it stung me. And she goes, "You're only three mistakes away from poverty when you
Right.
live in LA." And three things can just happen that are out of your control. You lose home, you have death in a family, you get hit by a car in LA,
Yeah. Hmm.
and you go bankrupt right away in LA, and you end up on the street. It's a very real thing to live in when it's you're living in a city like that. And I can only imagine Hawaii is similar as well, especially if you have such a big family to take care of and be responsible for. So there's this fear that creeps up in us always at all times. And
Hmm.
you can't help but not to feel afraid to fail. And the longer you feel afraid to fail, the longer you hold. Somehow and I faced that so many times, but the moment I said I'll figure it out, the fear just kind of vanished, right? So if that answers your question, I never lived with it for so long. I allowed it to come. It stings me, it pokes me, it gives me the shivers, it really freaks me out, it freezes me, but not for a long period of time. If
Mm.
that was the case, I would have left and stayed in my small little village where I
Mm.
was born in and would probably be married with a bunch of kids.
Mm.
Poor, or who knows.
Yeah,
Yep.
interesting.
So, and in vocation, and just to add to that, in my vocation, this is where I think it speaks about breaking all the traditional ways of thinking, all of them. That you have to stay in patriarchal
Hmm.
bloodline, that
Hmm.
you have to just, love your culture and your nationalism and your religion. No, that you have to stay one in one sexuality orientation, that you have to have a long hair. I break those rules left and right when it comes to
Yeah.
this, and I'm not afraid to even go bald, though it's freaking scary. I shaved my head as well, and I think this is where I break through it to get to not live in this shadow by
Mm.
default. Yeah. How
Yeah,
about you?
I found, well, I just want to touch on this real quick. I found that two things that stood out to me that I'm like, this is totally Melissa. The one is like a really keen awareness of hierarchy, and you transcend hierarchy. But to transcend something, you really have to understand it and know it. And I feel like that shows up for you. And the other thing is, um, in the shadow, this tendency to be isolated, either financially or just in a tribe or a family. And though you did move far away from your home and you were alone, I think you always knew, and based on what you've told me about your story, you've always wanted to step forward into um, true companionship and true connection with other human beings. And you've placed yourself in a very large city, and you have many activities that keep you. You're not just in your apartment working from your laptop and doing that life. So I think I think fear tends to propagate when we are isolated, when we are alone. And so there's an element too of it touches you because it's real. We can't just deny like the fear that exists in humanity. It touches you. And because you're moving forward with connection and meeting with people and doing these deep talks and your understanding of hierarchy and your place in it, and as we get into the city, I'm curious if that perspective matches for you. But yeah, I feel like it stems from your orientation is from this perspective of like I can see top to bottom and I know my place in it and I'm okay with it, and the fear might touch me, or might have this moment where I'm sleeping on the beach. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but I can, like, it takes a lot of chutzpah, it takes a lot of courage to like drop that for the moment and just say like, I'll figure it out. And maybe in the core wound, like your father really wanting a boy while you were in utero, maybe that's what touched you, and you were like in utero, you're like, okay, I'm a failure to you, but I'm gonna make the most of it, and you're gonna see. And that's maybe why you came around now, and now you're like fully accepted by that side of your family. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And what's also interesting that all of them are dead.
All of them.
All of them, including my father too. So,
Mm.
which is, you know, you never end up fixing or correcting that type of wound, right?
Yeah.
It kind of lives with you for a reason. And here I'm going to touch why this has been such a profound way for me to create anything in my life and still continue creating. And you touched, when you say the word isolation is very scary to me.
Mm.
It actually brings so much fear.
Mm.
And what's interesting is that I am consciously choosing the time to isolate
Mm.
in a big city. And I have my moments, right? So, though I cannot survive in total isolation, there is something so profoundly deep when I am with myself, where I can find and face myself, that it touches me to my core.
Mm.
And not one person in this world can actually touch me that deep like I can when I touch myself. And though I'm edging myself, I know exactly, I'm very aware of when I overdo it. Like, you know, when you're like, I don't know how depression works. I don't label easily like that. I don't know when you suffer or when you have a hard moment. It's very simple. It's like, it's the wave that comes through you. But I want to allow the season to come. I want to be in the isolation. Though I always had continuously someone next to me as a partner. I actually never experienced what it feels to be alone, not and isolated in a sense of protected from the different influences, especially in the city big like this, where you get influenced and tossed left and right. And Los Angeles kind of created this form for me to experience myself, which I think it's so ironic. It's like I live with 20 million people and it couldn't be bigger than this, right? And I love it. And I feel that I'm in the right place, in the center of it. But I digest and bite on the sweetness of connections when I am ready for it. And I think I charge myself into it. So when you say isolation, it really freaks me out because I know how edgy it can be and I know how it can flip upside down like towards you, right? And it can kind of almost get the self-destructive, but I'm able to, thanks to my Libra moon, I'm able to kind of figure out how to balance this too. And when I go out and I connect with people, I really don't create anything. The only time that I create something as my own extension of, let's say, what is the gift, which is the vocation, reverence, right? Oh, yeah. So
Preservation. Yeah.
exactly. And in reverence, the secret to the gift is instinctive ability to balance restraint, what to keep alive, and
Mm-hmm.
risk, what to change. And I feel very edgy with this. And I feel I am right on the edge of back and forth, kind of edging myself in that scary and sweet spot
Mm.
when it comes to isolating versus changing, because isolation makes me really look into what my truth is and not fall by default of all the traditional way of thinking outside in external world and all the what's it called, the trendiness, right? Because people copy each other and I can't do that because it has to come out as the truth and authentic self. So it's very edgy and I just want to put it out there because I'm scared of it. I kind of want to change the definition of what the isolation is, because in all psychology books it literally is the red flag warning on trauma being created in isolation. I was like, I'll take that, but also
Mm-hmm.
there's also of so much creation that can come in when you sit in silence with yourself too.
Mm.
Any
Right.
thoughts on that? That's why you wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. No?
Yeah. Well, when I do, I notice it. If I don't run from it and jump into activity, then yeah, it's a very deep time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, late at night, early in the morning, yeah, creativity is like very max, or even just playing in the space of meditation,
Yeah.
you feel very connected in isolation, ironically.
Hmm.
And that's a little bit of the paradox of meditation itself. And maybe the deeper journey that we're on is as we feel more and more isolated, or as we consciously isolate, we go inward. We feel this explosion outward. We feel this energy moving us out into the world. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a key balance there. And I was going to ask you about that, and you touched on it already. Um,
How do you know what to stay? How do you discern when it comes to that, like what to keep and what to let go of?
mm, Trying to think of a good example. Well, the first thing I thought of when I read that was with our podcast here with Gene Keys, and how you and I both said, if we ever notice that it's not aligned. And with these last two episodes, how the disconnection was happening, and I was like, oh shit, I'm like, I feel like it's gonna stop. And I was like, am I okay with that? I don't know. I wasn't sure because I had said it and I'm like, I need to follow through with it if that's true. And then here we are, and I'm like, no, I want to keep doing this. And also when people ask me, when I see people's profile and then I look at like the Gene Keys in the 40s or in the late 30s, I start to get really excited because it's new again.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, it's not leaving me right now. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the metaphor here is grafting. So taking a plant and putting it on, I'm not an arborist at all, but that idea of what to keep and what to let go of, it shows up really clearly with like gardening, with growing plants, because they grow so quickly. You get to see it, and that discernment about knowing, I think it comes with experience. So there's an element of like when I set out on this journey for myself of showing up online as a personal brand, writing, sharing my writing, I had an idea of what I wanted to do and how long it would go for. And now I'm 3 months in, 3.5 months, and I've experienced a complete shift. And I've had to let go of that side that was like, I write super long essays that are really philosophical and very deep because I'm deep. And that was like my identity was placed in there.
Yeah.
And even when I met with you a few days ago to talk about it, I was like nervous to tell you because I'm like, Melissa is um my anchor, or I can't find the word for it, but you're someone who I place myself against, and I show up um as like I want her to be impressed. Maybe impressed isn't the right word. I want you to approve of my art or my artfulness. And so for me, this shift that I just experienced was a letting go of the more artsy, explorative, open side, and an embracing of a more structured, businessy, you know, profit, very masculine in that way, I should say. And when I told you, I was like, oh, like I could feel in my body, like I'm getting a little nervous to tell Melissa. Like I almost didn't want to tell you at all. I almost wanted to hide it. And then afterward, I talked to Carly. She's like, yeah, I noticed that too, because she was in the room. And I think it's just the desire to what I guess it's kind of pointing to when I got into it. maybe there's some ulterior motive to be impressive to certain people, to be accepted by certain people. Like, and that in me is like, look how deep I am. Like, look at the words I'm using. Aren't they so big? It, I don't consciously think it, but like, I have to admit, there's got to be something there that's like getting off to it.
Hmm.
So when I made the switch, I was like, okay, should I keep it going? Should I keep it going for an element? Like, okay, I can do my business, helping people, those types of videos and writing, and then also do this deep stuff on the side. And then I think just now, like realizing I just need to let that go and be okay with it. Or,
And what are you letting go?
um, so the long, like 30, 40 minute videos I was doing where I'm
Mm.
writing, I was writing like 3,000, 4,000 word essays and then basically reading the script, just reading from it.
Oh, I see, I
Um,
see.
and finding a different outlet for that. But if I'm honest, it's like in this format, I feel like it's a better way to do that same thing because
Mm.
I'm not just me against me, and then there's no resonance, there's no ability to like um guide or navigate, and then also like that back and forth really helps the conversation flow like a river.
Mm.
You have two
Mm.
banks of a river. You find your edge.
You know, what's interesting is that I think, and you tell me if this applies to you as well, it's like we almost have to have relationship to something or someone or some sort of imaginative thing, or even when we create the business, we almost have to have exact perfect client in front of us in order to
Hmm.
give this offer to them or create the service or create a product for that person, right? So have you seen the difference between and relationship to that, which is the object for you as a subject, changes your product and your creativity
Yeah.
and how you relate to that. So what I hear you say is like when you wanted to be liked, you created this almost like in your mind, your mind wanted to be liked
Hmm.
and seen as deep. So it was your relationship to that. And for the people that, you know, whose opinions matter to you. And there are people in life that you know, love to be liked and seen and, like validated. I have to
Hmm.
change that. Those holy threes that are trendy. See me, validate me, and accept me. But I found what I found is interesting that me, I have to have relationship with something in order for me to create something.
Yeah.
And that's how I grow. And that same way started last 2 years when I opened the Instagram account. And I had no idea how to do it. Like I was just there scrolling for 10 years. And now I have to be the one creating it. I deleted my Instagram account over and over again. And I always had this sense like, holy shit, people will think that I'm so nuts,
Hmm.
so crazy. But I really didn't know how to relate to it. It was my museum of art, then it was my personal blog, then it was my writing page, and it was my book that I created, and then it was a visual representation of me and my events in life and how I grew and my timeline. It's like, holy shit, I am giving so much to something rather than actually using it and creating a different relationship. It took me time to do it. And
Hmm.
what you're saying is like it takes time to evolve really the way you want to express that which is looking to relate.
Hmm.
And as you are shaping and forming, it doesn't really change your quality and your depth and how much depth you are. You're almost just finding the forum, but it sounds like that 44,000 words can easily just become a book or become a
Yeah.
talk on TED Talk, right? So it's like it's still there. You're just relating to something differently, and I find that
Hmm.
really, really beautiful and evolving.
Hmm. Yeah. There's a couple things. The one which I think you'll resonate with or you'll find interesting is when I created my most recent product for my business, I went about it very differently because I had written like this free guide and then I made a $33 just like an ebook that people could download. And I did that all on my own, just guessing. And then I went a different path with my new one. And I said, okay, I have this vision for a course that can help transform people. And I have an idea of the outline and the structure. I'm going to take the first module and begin to create it. And then once it's complete in my mind, I will seek as much feedback as I can. And my goal for like 90 days has been get 30 people to give me constructive criticism and feedback on it. And I think I'm at like 14 or 15 now. And it was like instantly the first piece of feedback I got, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like just your feedback alone, like this is going to be so much better. The second one, same thing. And all of a sudden I'm on like version 9 or 10. And what it is now is so evolved from what I had created. And if I didn't actively seek um, multiple perspectives on it and multiple, you know, some of these people are very experienced in creating their own products. And just to have that insight and to have the help in it, it just transforms it. And then now it's to the point where I'm like, I have someone that wants to do the full transformation, which is like my high ticket thing, like work with me and we'll do group coaching, we'll do calls. But he's local, he lives pretty close. And I'm to the point now where I'm like, I'm not even gonna start creating the offering until I meet with him and I basically do the same thing. I'm like, okay, here's step one, step two, step three, and then he can give me direct feedback through the process and I can build that around what he needs and what shows up. And what we often do is when we're isolated, we overcomplicate that which is actually really simple. We
Mm.
we tend to like imagine that everyone wants all these features when it's like I just have a one problem and I want to get there as quickly as I want to get to the solution or get to resolving the pain as quickly or as it's not all about speed. Sometimes it's about the depth that you can get there or the achievement itself. And it depends on the work or the medium with which you're practicing. Like for your work, it's you need the time, you need the space, and so creating that space is a big part of it. But yeah, just the feedback as a mechanism of building and that
Mm.
like introducing the relationship to me because my tendency is to isolate. Like I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do YouTube. I'm just gonna talk to camera. I'm gonna write my own thing. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But if I'm being honest, it's a way to hide. It's a way
Mm.
to not show up, actually. Where I think I'm being vulnerable, I'm not. I'm being
Mm.
I'm being like Eric vulnerable. I'm allowing you to see as much as I'm willing to go. But maybe what you want from me is like, just tell me your simple pains and pleasures, and we'll just stick with that instead of, you know, this long, long, long process. But
Wow.
um, yeah, it's been cool. It's been really cool. It's a big shift for me. I'm excited. It's also like when you meet people where they're at and you engage in this way, there's a different energy that shows up, and there's a level of like, now I'm almost the caretaker. You're trusting me with whatever it is you're showing up for. And I feel a sense of responsibility and like I want to create the best possible thing for you, or I want to, you know, guide you through this process. And maybe we'll achieve depth just just by staying simple. Maybe we'll achieve a depth that we didn't know was possible, right?
Yeah, really cool. I love that for you. And there's this like mutuality that happens. It's almost like mutual therapy, right? And
Mm,
I have a big problem in calling myself better or more knowledgeable or at the higher level of evolution. It just I cringe. My entire body contracts on me presenting, and only speaking from my experience, me presenting myself as better. And I think there's this it's my life work. And my life work is equality. And it's like I cannot see myself any higher or lower level. But we talked about this many times. It's almost like who asks for help? Nobody asks for help. So the offer is really not me to help you at all. The offer is me to work with you, right? So I wrote this. I realized this a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote this small little synopsis about mutual therapy. It's almost like as you are custom making the space for him or her, the client, you are also evolving together with them.
mm, mm, mhm,
And it's just a matter of time when roles switch. And when you become someone who needs the services of your student. And, like we always think there's a teacher student hierarchy,
mhm,
and I just cannot see it. I cannot even function like that. So it's almost like, and I talked about this yesterday. I graduated yoga and I did my 200-hour yoga training to become an instructor. When I graduated after 200 hours, and I have been doing yoga for 7 years, and I was like, okay, I just need to know the body, and I'm not planning on doing the career in yoga. But when I graduated and I did the test, I can't tell you, there's no positive feedback in the test. It was all negative, meaning it was all something that I had to improve. And I'm like, wait a minute, this does mean nothing. I have never went back to yoga. And
Oh,
not
really?
because, never. And not
Wow.
because I have ego that it's hurt, but because I don't see how you're helping me without supporting me. And I think if you how there's another way of being a self-critic, such a strong self-critic that if you know yourself very well, you know exactly when the ending has to happen, when something has to die,
Hmm.
right? And what you're saying is that you tried it, but you gave your best and you feel, yes, the feedback is coming, but you're feeling that's not you. So you continue to become an artist and search and paint different colors and find your theme. But I'm like, I have not improved by any negativity that was negativity, meaning all the corrections by someone else's standpoint that told me about it, right? So I am more free flow. Maybe, and again, maybe I will change my mind. And I'm happy that you did because you feel now more aligned. But I am more and more aligned into free flowing
Yeah.
rather than because I tried it with coaching and I think the coaching was leading me. And I had to custom make myself to the client's needs and desires. And I just I couldn't lead from that perspective rather than almost like there was no evolution for me, if I shall say. Right. It was
Mm,
actually contracting me and pulling me back. And I couldn't think openly. I couldn't connect, like I can feel my entire self is contracting because I am now just wasting my time by listening to your problems.
hmm.
And no matter how much I'm structuring you back, you're still in your level of evolution that you're going
Yeah.
to waste your money and waste your time. And unless you're ready to get there deep inside of me, inside with me, right? So we're just going to waste each other's time. And to me, that was the hallelujah. And that was the aha moment of holy shit, there's a totally different, again, this gift.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be breaking all
Yeah.
the rules and not following any structure. And that is laughable and really ironic. But I love that you found in your season in your life something that kind of almost like you kind of almost like got plopped into it. It feels like you kind of just kind of, when you're trying to put
Yeah.
the square in the circle and it doesn't work and you're blind and like a kid, you're trying to find what fits and then suddenly something fits and something happens.
Hmm.
And I'd love to see how this turns out to be. And it might also be the catalytic moment in your life to actually pivot. And those moments are really powerful. So I celebrated.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
cool.
you.
Really cool.
Yeah. That's, thank you for sharing that too about, not going back to yoga and then so you're not doing any coaching now either.
I stopped.
Hmm.
I stopped because I don't
Is it?
think it's a I don't think that way. I think my clients, okay, and let me rephrase. I think my clients were creating my own niche because I just attracted a
Hmm.
specific type of clients that
Hmm.
really it was not it was not creative for me and it was not evolving me at all. It actually devolved me backwards because I allowed the freedom for them to guide the space, and that's not the space I want to offer.
Hmm.
And I think that was the moment when I just paused and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I have the tools. I can use the tools differently, but I need to be the space holder. And when
Hmm.
I'm the space holder, you are welcome to enter. And in this space, it's like entering the church. It's
Hmm.
not in and out. It's not McDonald's. It's a church. It's like going to the museum. You don't go to museum to eat fast food or have a coffee. You go there with intention because you need something. And that is very clear to me. But I had to go through the failure in order to choose balance, restraint, what to keep alive, and
Hmm.
risk what to change.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's amazing because the word evoke is coming up, like you're evoking your right to change and drop things. And I don't know if this is related, I would guess with language roots, but evoke and vocation, like it's an element of your will. And you found like in doing your yoga teacher test a very strong push to keep the hierarchy of like maybe this is what your teacher experienced when so she or he is just passing it down and trying to keep that structure alive. And you're like, this tree needs to not grow anymore. I'm out. And you cut off that branch. And like, yeah, I don't know how this will show up in the world in the traditional sense of like, I'm Elisa, I do this and I make money because I provide this service. But there's an element of like, you are a you're almost like an arborist of like social structure. Like I graft, I trim, I cut, and you're like tasting and testing all of these different realms of, how we interrelate, and then you're creating change by saying this isn't in alignment with me anymore, or this doesn't resonate. And also
Yeah.
also interesting too how like when you go into it so free and then someone else is bringing their structure and then you're finding that doesn't resonate either. It's like, and then you said church and I just imagined, I'm like, okay, what if you started a church that was like,
Wow.
like a
That's a good
room.
idea.
Yeah, and you're there, but you're not in the center. You're not on the stage. You're not in front. And you show up and there's some level of like, I don't know. I don't know if that brings anything up for you, but
Mm.
I'm sure the evolution of who you are and how you show up in your depth. And like you said, I mean, you have work and you're finding a sense of joy and like your ability to grow and evolve within the work that you're doing. But you still are you're like sensing like a shift where you're wanting to do something deeper because you have such depth within you and you want to share that and help others to experience it, but finding out how to do it and you're meeting like this is the structure like coaching here. This is how coaching works and you're showing up in that system and you're like at least right now, not for me, not in this way. Let me find a different path. And so
Yeah.
I just want to commend and applaud your leadership because you're showing many people to be brave and to not just accept things as they are in the systems and to create. And the creation itself isn't just
Yeah.
about words on paper or what you're sharing. It's also about the systems that you're engaging with, the hierarchy that you're accepting or rejecting, and then your ability to find a new way to do things. And it's like that is that is freedom. Like that's your
Hmm.
55. That's
Yeah.
tremendous.
Oh, thank you. And it's very isolating.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you're Libra,
Ironically.
you're balancing between it, right?
But you're also alone in thinking this way. And I'm going back to tech work almost every day. And all I get is just structure and listen, I am your boss. And literally, I can give you gazillion of examples that I am faced with on a daily basis where somebody's telling me what I need to do and improve. And I'm like, there's no way you don't see what I'm good at already. Can you just tell me? Our entire scoring system is actually based on someone else's feedback. And there's a big section like this for improvement. Sure, I get it in the concept of capitalism. And there's this tiny little section of what was good. I was like, why is this by default reversed? If you, let me just ask you this, and you see, I'm getting heated with this because it really stings me. If you and I sat and spent a year and a half criticizing each other and telling each other what we need to improve, do you think we will be here?
No. And
No.
the relationship then is it's just on tendrils. It's being held together by, and at the work in the workplace, it's being held together by the expectation of work, the expectation of receiving a paycheck, and from your employer's perspective, the expectation that you will contribute to the company. And that's it.
Yeah, which out of which they do not no long they no longer see your value.
Hmm.
That's the point is like, oh my God, unless I know my value, and I have to know my value and how valuable I am with everything that I bring, not to the company only for the paycheck, but to everybody I spend my time with. You have to be very discerning about it. And I fucking know my value and my qualities because I'm investing in them actively, proactively for the rest of my life. And I'm anchoring into something that it's so human. And he goes, okay, here. It is not about keeping just anything alive. It is about knowing what to keep alive. And to me, this is love. And this is connection. And this is the quality that I can only do for people, with humans, deeply, deeply, deeply. And not because I know better, because I need to, like help you and fix you, because I'm able to tune into your needs at the time of your life. And I can do that. And I can do so much more by being here with you, but being 100% present and whole with you. So much so that our hearts sink.
Hmm.
And then you feel seen, loved, and stuff and stuff and stuff.
Hmm.
And I will die for it on my own sword. And it's so important. And you don't have that in workplace at all because there's no such value. That value doesn't make money for the capital, right? So I don't know will this ever make money for me, but if I'm going to create anything, it's going to be anchored in that exact thing. It's like we must. connect and see each other for who we are, not for what you need to be because you need to change. I fucking
Mm-hmm.
want to just celebrate you. And another thing too with the women, because I have been working with women and I just came back from the retreat of it too, it's like, we're preconditioned to compete. What am I competing this with you? I don't have nothing to compete. Why? Because I know that I'm valuable too. But if I see my value, I can see yours as well. And if
Yeah.
I cannot support you in growing and celebrating and making you even bigger and better, then I'm not worth. I don't see myself as worth.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be, we women are preconditioned to compete and kind of shy away from complimenting one another.
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
know how hard it is? Like there was this beautiful practice of five of us sitting out there and looking at each other's eyes and literally taking 2 minutes each. Tell me what you see. Tell me you love me. Compliment me,
Mm-hmm.
but not on a physical look. Tap into my
Yeah. Yeah.
depth and
Mm-hmm.
compliment me. Do you know how hard that is? And you know how touching it is and profoundly healing that is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
just,
mean, I don't know, but I read about it. I've been told, I witness it for for women, like the temptation to jump to gossip as like a social relatability tool and to comparison. Like there's a sense of you find your place, it seems, as a woman when you know where you rank. And for men, in my experience, we're way simpler. We don't really we're not, it's really not based on looks. We're not really talking about that. So
you just go to war and you kill people.
yeah, we violently compete
Yeah.
instead of a status thing. Yeah.
You measure your, not the same, your guns.
Yeah.
Same shit.
Hmm.
But, with support and love that comes from the depth of the heart, it all comes down to that too. It's like, if I cannot, if I'm going to do anything by choice, it's going to be to support you and full love you. Come
Hmm.
out of love. Come out of love for you. And everything else that stings, it stings my ego. It's not my heart. My heart doesn't get hurt because it knows what it is. It's like, I want to come of love for you. And
Yeah.
you can be the most famous person in the world and tomorrow say, you no longer fit my level of consciousness. Sorry, I evolved and I'm famous now. But, even there, even then, when it stings the most, if you choose love, then you are at the level 7. Per Tony
Mm.
Robbins of consciousness, Sadhguru, Maria, Mother Teresa. Like love, love, love. Ah,
Hmm.
okay.
Question.
Yes.
Do you see, because the Gene Keys profile is such a rich bed to like garden in, do you see that as a structure that you would find useful in like coaching? So like you said, like there wasn't,
Did you finish
I
your
mean,
question?
yeah, I'm here. I just stopped talking. Um,
I know what happened.
do you feel do you feel like hmm, would that be is that something that you're attracted to at all? Because every time I do Gene Keys, I'm like, I want, and maybe I don't know, it might be something to look into for me, but like I want everyone to say, I'm interested in my Gene Keys. And I'm like, let's look into it. And then all of a sudden we're going together. And what I find, and I have to remember my own experience with this, is that I heard about it from a friend. Someone had a book and we were visiting and I browsed around in it. I pulled up my profile one day and took a screenshot, set it aside, didn't pick it up for 8 months. And not until we started this journey did I really dive into it. And so, like, having that structure.
Yeah.
And so, when I share this with people, they're like, oh, what's this? Oh, wow, that's really complicated. And I'm like, yeah, just look at this one for now and then kind of planting the seed and then going down that road. But I'm like, if anyone came to me and they were like, you do gene keys, could we look at my profile together and like that space and having like I said, like I imagine like a garden bed and then you get to maybe explore the Venus sequence or the Pearl sequence or the life path. Is that something that attracts you at all, or are you like totally beyond structure and seeking your own kind of your own foundation for coaching?
I mean, Gene Keys attract me. And I like that, it's almost like there's an anchor in connection with it, relating, out of which everything kind of grows out. And I think keeps it evolves me. You
Mm-hmm.
see, it's like that mutuality is very important. And when you lead, right, it's like your students are evolving you too.
Mm-hmm.
And if your student becomes better than you, you should get to that level. We should get to that level of acceptance and really almost like supporting the student to become better. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the humanely, I don't know, are we there? I mean, I want to get there. It's the intention. Do I want to do it? Yes. Do I think it will digress? Yes. Do I think it still evolves me? Very much. And I think I also think there's more to a human being than
Right.
just jinkies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also think at the time of your life, you will hear, when you read the book, you will only remember one sentence or one short little word or two, but
Mm-hmm.
not entire book. So you almost have to be needing it so much for you to hear someone else's perspective. But it's a self prophecy. And no matter how much I tell you, I truly believe we can do it together. And it's called soft networking. I don't know, have you even heard of that? Like,
Tell me more.
soft networking, it's no longer a measure of who is doing better or not.
Mm-hmm.
We're not competing for any type of increase. There's no, it's almost like it's win-win. It's not win-lose, right? So in the settings like this, I'm actually not, it's coming out of me. I'm not really, I didn't have the concept like this, but it's actually evolving right now. If I am coaching on anything and I'm a coach and you pay me, yes, I can do everything in my power for $3,000 that you give me. I will give you everything. I will be there for you 24/7 support, the crisis line. I will be there to hold you for 10 hours in the next 10 sessions. And you pay me, and I am responsible for it. And I'm also there for you. But you also have the need to show up because you invested something.
Yes.
If we're 100% honest, will it actually change anything about you who paid? Will 10 hour of my whole self coming into you for you for you for you, will
Mm-hmm.
it actually change anything in you so dramatically how much I prepared for it?
I think it really depends on the quality of which the client is showing up.
And why I say this, I have attended many workshops,
Yeah.
many rituals, and many places and spaces where I paid good money for it. And the moment it's done, you integrate back into the life and your old habits.
Mm-hmm.
But something stays. It's only a seed that stays and then evolves you later, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
something reflects. You have to almost repeat it so many times that actually changes you. But it changes you not at the time when you paid, at the
Yeah,
time when you are ready for that change. And if
absolutely.
anything out of that book that you just read or workshop that you just attended or yoga certification that you did, it actually kicks in small bits and pieces like this. Chuk, 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 chuk. Oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. But it really, win, lose, or you pay, I gain,
Mm-hmm.
to me, conceptually, in the future is no longer going to be. And why
Mm-hmm.
I say this is like it may be in the beginning until you grow your career, right? Or we grow our careers and change. You have to pay for the time, for the space, and for the intention. But soft networking is I win, you win.
Hmm.
And I think at the same time we win, meaning there's no more me competing against you or me because I'm on my own path, right? So there's no more we share the same path, which we
Hmm.
have to compete because we're now racing. Who's going to do it better? Who's going to market it better? It's almost like the space is open for whoever needs to come in order for us to evolve together at the same time. And you and I are doing this. I don't know if you noticed, you and I are doing this. There's no,
I definitely notice.
okay, great, perfect. I thought I just needed to say it. But it's such a new concept of when I bring people, and this is what I disclose it is that when I bring people and I start talking to people on the podcast or these talks that I do, I almost always have to say, this is no marketing campaign. I'm not trying to make you better or less. I'm not marketing myself. You're not marketing. And almost every single person coming in said, oh, I totally get it. Let's have fun. And as we
Hmm.
had fun, the moment we finish our conversation, something shifts. And that
Hmm.
itself is literally the done deal and the done product, but it shifts for both. So we both win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And such spaces is this is where I came to you many times and I said, we have to create something together. Like, but it has to align to both of us. It cannot just be, I want this and I want this. And I believe in it and I am calling it in. Like, I
Hmm.
call the people, I'm calling the souls that are meant for the space for us to create and very much detach from it and create it for someone else to come and participate a lot. And I believe in it so much.
Yeah.
And I forgot what was your question.
Me too.
I'm sorry, but I just
No,
had to
it's
say
fine.
it. Oh, soft networking. You
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to ask. Yeah, it's win-win. And we
Hmm.
both do it for the betterment of both. That's the total support and total wholeness. But it has to come from the heart and alignment in the heart, not because I need this by Sunday and it's structural.
Hmm. Hmm.
Tell me, do you feel this or are you having a need to structure everything as per plan, as per calendar, as per your capacity?
Uh, depends on the nuance or the specifics, but in you sharing that, I'm like, I'm thinking actively, like, how can I bring this into my offering and how I show up for people and how I interact. But I think there's an element of like, again, it goes back to quality. If you just show up in any framework and you say, I'm here for soft networking, whether you paid me, whether you anticipate structure or you want a certain outcome, I just want you to know that I'm going to learn from you as a student, and that's how I'm showing up in this relationship. And I think if you have that quality, you don't even have to say it explicitly, but people can feel it
Mm.
versus like, did you do step 1 through 4? Okay, let's move to step 5. There's no depth. There's no asking like, did this resonate with you, or where did the structure that I provided not fulfill your bucket? Where are you feeling like something's missing? Because in you
Mm.
telling me that information, I have something to go into. I can change my structure or I can just provide a different experience for you personally. And I think that quality is everything. And I think the other piece that came up was like the podcast format is so perfect for you. It seems like it's just like it's one to one. It's very personal. Um, there's an exploration, and that it is that soft network. So how do we like translate it? How do we pull that out into yeah
You invite people. You
yeah
know,
group?
I
So like a
invite
group.
people. I invite people to talk to me,
Hmm.
literally. And I never once got no. And I was like, but invitation is not for the outcome. I'm not gonna come, right? So the orgasm is not the outcome. But imagine if you're just going in just to have ecstasy.
Right. Right.
You're actually going in to discover. And I think people want this, honestly.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they gladly say, and they And it's like, I invited my teacher and I said, I only have 17 subscribers, out of which I'm two.
Mhm.
And I love my 17 subscribers, 15, right? So it's like, this is not, you invite people into your space. And I think this energy creates itself on, right? Only then it's like, otherwise it's someone else's path that I'm following and I'm already a 10th millionth of copy of something else.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be the same artist as, Andy Warhol. I want to be
Mhm.
different. Like
Mhm.
there's a difference, but the creative wants to express itself through you. And as if I am just that extension and that vehicle and it comes out through me, it's like, what the fucking I know? What does it want? I really don't want, but I just show up and I want to show up fully and I want to show up with the whole presence, which is what I offer. I offer the presence.
Mhm.
And yes, and when you invite people, I have not been invited to anything, which is ironic again. And as if I almost sense that people are just so not selfish, but very defensive of their time, their space, their quality, and what they offer. Almost like jealous of it, very protective, right? Over their creation as if it's the only thing. But when you open space for creation to come in, there's endless possibilities. Same
Mhm.
as making love.
Mhm.
It's like if I want to, there's not one way of making love. It's every
Mhm.
time is different. And for everybody is different. And for everyone you connect with is different. There's no one the same exact kiss. It's very different, but it's only possible if you show up fully and nakedly and vulnerably and you invite another to come into your space. And I don't know will I ever get invited into anything, but I am happy to invite people to come and join and heal together. And
Mhm.
there was not once that people said no to it or they didn't have time. And I even say only and only if it feels yes as truth in your whole body, then shall we proceed. And even after the recording, I always say, hey, if this was no for you by any mean, then I'm never gonna post it. I respect and I honor because I lose if you lose. If you feel this is not the right thing to do, then I'm not gonna build my happiness on your unhappiness. There's no win lose. It's only win win. It's only soft and tender. I
Mhm.
don't know. You tell me. You're masculine. I need a little bit of, your like structure maybe.
Well, like you said, like I'm learning from you, and when you invited me to this podcast, I was like, fuck yes, because I this is probably something that I would have asked you for. And at the time, I think when you asked, I think I had just jumped into Gene Keys. Maybe you have better memory. Did we spark each other on that, or how did we know we were doing Gene Keys?
The beginning.
Yeah, like before the invitation. Did you just invite me out of the blue? Like, do you know about Gene Keys? Would you like to do a podcast on it? Or had we discussed it? Not that it's vitally important. I'm just.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know you invited me and you reached out after a year or so.
Hmm.
And then you were like, "Hey, I think you said you want to do something together." And I was in a dark place then. And I just found it, you just found me. And that's how you plucked me out of to focus on something else rather than focusing on where I was going through. And that
Hmm.
healed me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think we allocated 1 year for, I can't remember actually how we got to it,
Hmm.
which is perfect.
Yeah, so I do have a desire for structure and things, but it's like the temptation is like, how can I help you to reach more people with what you're doing? Like my desire for Melita is more people need this experience, what we're having right now. But I feel that in like if you made that like a Zoom group call with many people, then people tend to check out, they start looking at their phone, because it's like there's not enough. engagement happening on the one-to-one.
Mhm.
And that's why I keep going back to like, I think it has to be in person or as close to it as possible where there's like, you know, our phones are in a basket at the door. We're sitting together. There's an element of like integration before and afterwards. And then you're planting a seed, you're carrying on. There's no, and in that space too, there's like, it's like a one-time thing, I think for you, like to have it be like, we're going on a journey. It's just an invitation. You can do the whole journey or you can step out at any time because that resonates with, this gift for you, this preservation in your vocation. You can teach others that
Mm.
experience. But I feel, there's an element too of like the timelessness of your own evolution, because you were so into yoga when you were getting your 200 hours and then you got into coaching and it just felt like, that's what you needed to do and it was providence. And we go through these shifts of um spiraling, right? We come back to something that's very similar, but it's at a higher level. It's a different perspective because you have the experience from before. And
Mm.
at some point you're going to spiral up to, okay, let's try this offering or let's try to build a a product around it that helps you access depth and then you're going to come out of that again. I'm imagining the evolution of what you're offering could be a part of the offering itself and saying like, I'm going to invite you into my ecosystem and you're going to get a lifelong, I will provide you every update that I do. I will provide you every evolution that I'm going through as part of your purchase. Instead of
Mm.
like you pay for this, you get this, and then I never see you again. It's like I'm bringing you in. You can come and go. You're free to leave. But ultimately, like I'm
It's a good
here.
idea.
Yeah, if you want to come in.
That's a really good idea. And I also feel like, this detachment, you remember you also have it in your Gene Key. It's almost like you're building something and you're letting go. It's such
Mm,
you're build it's as if like imagine if you had a cosmic menu and you're ordering everything from the menu and it's falling upon you and you're taking it, everything that you always wanted. And you are rising and you are growing and you are ecstatic about it. And then you have to let go all of it, give it to earth.
yeah.
Let go, let go, let go, let go.
Hmm.
And that's where the beginning and end, the death and rebirth, to me, it has to happen. And yes, I don't think I did yoga for nothing,
Right. Hmm.
but it was meant for that time, for that chunk, for that chunk. And it almost, everything falls into the place. The way I speak, the way I connect, it's dependent on the coaching. I'm still doing coaching.
Hmm.
I still have the business, but I want this, I want space. And I am no, I am literally coached by a mentor, by the senior teacher. And when I come to her, I always ask, "Oh my God, you have like 35 years of this coaching and your clients are waitlisted. Like people wait for the variety of your library of experience, first experience, second, all the books and all the licenses and all the PhDs that you have in your, file. But you have to be waitlisted. And she only has, you know what she says on her? The investment is significant,
Hmm.
right? Of course. And I think it doesn't really just do one thing, one school, one book, one experience. It
Hmm.
has life behind it and
Hmm.
trials and failures and sticking with the quality and facing yourself in solitude and isolation, taking moments to feel your way through it and really finding yourself so that way you can speak your truth. And I think the whole journey of it is speaking the truth out so people can actually resonate with that. No more what I hear. Resonance is what I'm looking for. So yeah, I love the idea, and I think it's my deep, and I feel it underneath it, layered down, and it's kind of like almost like a pot of spaces where I would love to hold sacred space for groups, and it would be my dream. It would be me living in a dream that I have to give up of. And unless I do that, even if once in my lifetime here, I don't think I would live. I lived
Mm,
fully, right? So it's coming out so much so that it brings tears to my eyes. I actually and living through it. This idea of creating such sacred, personal, connective spaces for groups of people. So I don't know when, how, I don't know, but I trust it.
mm,
I trust it will show.
mm.
And good idea. Thank you for ideas. You always have a good ideas. You see,
Thank you.
the ones you trust or whose opinions matter to you see you differently, right? So it's almost
Hmm.
like, you remember in the beginning, I always like, you have this in you. And you were like, no, what are you talking about? You couldn't see it, you couldn't feel it. And I keep just like, but this is
You're
you. Like I can
persisting.
see
Yeah.
it. And it does help. And I love when you do that because I don't look myself through your eyes and I don't see what you see. And when I sit and I think and I will listen to your voice messages, when you kind of just have these moments and it it it's profound. I'm just really grateful for it.
Mm, thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for you. You know, we've had 70 hours of depth together doing the dance. And
Really?
yeah, we've probably, who else in your life besides lovers and family members has that? So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I mean, actually, I would elevate you beyond family because I don't I don't engage with my family at this depth
Mm.
or even, I call my parents a couple times a month and we chat briefly, but yeah, this is it's a rich experience and I'm so grateful for it. The
Well,
evolution you provide.
maybe we open this for others.
Yeah, absolutely.
We tried it, we failed, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try again. I think
Well,
it would be beautiful to offer this genuinity to other people to come and join.
yeah, and I was thinking that's what's been showing up for me is like this format is really powerful and maybe it's like someone's profile, kind of like what we did with you today. It's like what is on your profile that stands out to you, something you want to talk about, and then we just do that gene key or it could be a
Hmm.
sequence, it could be like let's look at the whole sequence. There's so much potential to look at here.
We should. We should. Do you think we should offer live and just kind of have people just join?
Oh, okay.
Or maybe we
Yeah.
can
And
schedule it
then
ahead of the
and then
time.
it'll be on us to like scout people, like show me your profile, what's your birthday, and then be like, okay, we're doing the podcast on your
Maybe
sphere
third.
of vocation. We would love to have you because you have the perspective and we can go deep. And then if they show, they show, and if not, we're still doing what we're doing here. So
Sounds cool. I like. I'm so down. I mean, we're halfway through it. We're not even half. We're actually right on a half. It's 64. We're at the
yeah.
32nd. We're right on half. We're at the peak and then we're maturing. Interesting.
Yeah, it's so funny that we kind of had a pause here. We've had like pauses along the way where we had to redo, or we spent, I think 22, it took us 3 or 4 episodes, 32, and then maybe earlier we took a pause as well. And I feel like at each pause, we're kind of being asked to reorient back to like where are we going from here? Like pointing, do we want to point that way that we were heading, or do we want to come over and go more this direction? And
Yeah.
so, um, another thing that I get from you is, thank you for like you just have a sense of every pause is okay. Any need for space or for a break is absolutely fine and it should be honored. And so you've introduced something to me, and actually I got to share this, your perspective on integrity when we did integrity, which I think was like eight. And
Mm.
you said, Eric, what's integrity to you? And I was like, keeping your word and being honorable about what you said and following through. And I like spoke for 10 minutes just like blabbering, and then I was like, what's it for you? And you're like, just honoring where you are and being true to how you feel in the moment. And I was like, oh, pretend I didn't say everything I said. But I went through it. I evolved. I got to share that with someone, and she was like, holy shit, this changes everything. I'm
Mm.
like, because she has such problem with integrity. Like she just wants to be seen as an inter how do you say that? A person with integrity. She she wants to have honor. She wants people to respect her in that way. And
Mm.
I was like, I have a reframe that my one of my best friends gave me. I shared it with her. She's like, this changes everything for me, my whole life. Like totally different way to see the world. And that it
Yeah.
actually did that for me. I couldn't admit it in the podcast, but over the next weeks and months, it did. It's like what you said a week ago or a month ago or a year ago. It only holds true if it resonates now. If it doesn't hold true, then and you don't let it go or you don't admit that you're different now, then you're forcing something that it's almost like like a weed with thorns. It grows in you and then you become like you yourself become dissonant with your own body, with your own system. So it's just a way
Mm.
to come back to resonance, and I think it's such a healthier way to be in the world. So thank you for that.
Mm. That's really cool. Yeah, and how do you find what you resonate with? How do you proofread it or proofread the sign of resonance inside of you?
Mm, I would say that's a deep question because it's very intuitive for me. It's not like I have a system for checking resonance. It's like it just shows up. It's either there, it's not. But the ability to be conscious of it
Mm.
is difficult. It's difficult if you've never done it, right? It's simple once you know.
Mm.
Um, but what happens is submitting to different pressures. Like, hey, if I'm speaking with you and I have a pressure to be approved by you, then I might go into dissonance just because I think you'll like me better.
Mm.
And so just having the consciousness of who you're with and how you're feeling with them, and then how you're portraying, which shows up like assumptions. I'm going to make an ass out of myself if I assume that you want to see me as more artistic and that you would rather I write long fucking essays for YouTube versus doing what resonates with me. Now you're seeing me showing up for myself fully, and that naturally, like you're naturally approving of me. So it's almost like when we go down that path of I'm going to portray what you want from me without asking or without checking or without um finding the resonance for you, then
Mm.
I create a world where it's isolated, even though we're
Mm.
talking. Funny to go back to that.
Isolation.
Yeah. How does that show up for you? How do you find it? Resonance.
Have you ever experienced, I'll answer with a question. Have you ever experienced doing doing yes when you were very clear no inside your body?
Yeah, many times.
Ah, I hate when I do it. And I do it. And I did it on the retreat, and I thought, like you said, when I'm aware, because imagine life if we were 100% aware all the time about what we're doing, it wouldn't be that fun. So the awareness just pops up like that, blips, blips. And I had a clear no in my body. And then I said yes. And this is to choose the partner to pair with for the heart opening, which is the most tender and fragile exercise for me, where you do a lot of work to heart open, and I crumble every time I do it. And it's such a powerful exercise that opens your heart whenever you feel closed in your chakra or your heart in general, that you can't connect with people, that you can't touch your heart. And I am so protective over that exercise. And I went this time, and you only have to do it like once a year on a retreat, right? And we're grouped on one side, and then we close eyes, and then we feel our yes and no. And we're invited to be very discerning and speak our truth. And I was like, okay, I'm going to speak my truth. This is very important to me. And the more I created a concept of how important this was, the more I had resentment towards anything that came my way. And I turned around, and of course I chose a wrong partner, and I knew it immediately because we locked eyes, and as we were looking at each other, I it screamed no. It screamed no. And I was like, yes. Oh, and the practice was 4 hours, and it was my practice. So I identify with it so much, and it mattered to me so much. And of course, I failed in listening to me. So that's that truth. And I think, like you, it shows up very clearly. There's no complexity and complication in it. It's either yes or no. And I more than often say go against it, more than often, no matter how aware I am. But then I make mistake, and then I jump the gun, and then I'm like, shit. Now what I have to learn from it. It's like, what is this for me? So it was very different. So it actually totally brought me inside, and I kept saying no. My partner was very masculine,
Mhm.
and in that masculinity, I was actually very tender and yin. I was very feminine inside, and I couldn't stand the masculinity. So what happened is that I came to the awareness, though it was a no, I had the discovery process of kind of using my masculinity to shut her off completely and not have her enter my field. And then I was actually able to enter into my yin more, but I had to have such a discernment and discrimination against it, and resentment and repulsion for it, in order for me to enter into it. And have I not had that, I was not able to enter. And
Mhm.
to this day, I mind it. I mind myself, and I'm working on forgiving myself for saying yes. But the truth speaks clearly, precisely,
Mhm.
and very simply. It's a yes or no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay if you fail.
Yeah. And in that failure, what a powerful lesson. Like a very clear reminder of how important it is. And I think
Yeah.
we have to go through those failures to learn to respect that yes and that no, to respect it. Like this isn't just you being fickle or you being picky, like because that's we tell stories to, push ourselves where we aren't resonant. And it's important to distinguish resonance doesn't mean comfort.
Hmm.
Like my no might be like that would be uncomfortable. Like that might stretch me. But there's an element too of like you you can have a fuck yes and being like this is going to be uncomfortable, it's going to stretch me, it's going to grow me, but I feel safe in how we're going about it or the container that it's in. So that's really powerful. Really cool.
Yeah. And it comes with learning how you learning, putting yourself in risks and such situations in order to learn what works, what doesn't. And, you know, this happens with connecting with people. And this is why the relationships are the hardest and connections are the hardest, because you kind of need to be ready to take the no from someone, to have someone actually go against what you think. and
Mm-hmm.
still be very much but okay and unshakable and almost like, but this is the space I offer. And if it's no longer for you valid as example, but this is my truth. And if it's not resonating with you, I am sending you with so much love to go and seek elsewhere, someone else's space, right? So that comes with so much discernment and so much looking at you and learning all these parts of you, to get to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Easy said than done. Okay. Shall we touch on veneration?
Yes, I love this one.
Okay. We kind of did already.
Yeah, we a little bit did. But I just want to read a little bit here. When you dedicate your life to the service of others, this creates a progressive buildup of frequency within your subtle bodies. And the first obstacle that has to be overcome is the karma of your past. If your commitment is consistent enough, eventually you will burn up all the karma accumulated in your ancestral DNA in the service of others, right? Like if I were underlining this book, which I'm like, I should just do it because I can just buy a new one for $10. Um,
Oh my God.
see,
That is
growth.
evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Even in going back to when I got into the brand, it was like I'll talk about what I want to talk about. People will resonate, they'll find me, and then they'll want what I offer. And there was no exchange. There was no depth. And what I'm finding now in like engaging with people and really getting close feedback or like, is this useful or is this tailored to what's going to be helping you? I'm finding like in the service, in meeting it, in the creation of the offering, it's so much more aligned. It's so much more keyed in. And yeah, I love it.
What do you love about it?
I just love that it's like it's helping me to expand beyond my comfort zone. But it doesn't feel, now that I'm in it, it doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. It actually feels like totally where I need to be. Like totally like yes, like to the point where I'm not going to build anything until I find out what you need next, and then we'll go into it. And
Mm,
I'm so excited for the evolution. And I've never had something where I'm like so excited for my creation. It's always just been like, I did a thing. Do you like it or not? Is it good or not? And now this is like, I know I'm going to be able to help people because I'm engaged in that process and I'm here for it. And I'm excited that I'm going to be challenged along the way and that this is going to evolve beyond what I think it is. I know it will because I'm constantly in that space that you talk about of like, we'll call it soft networking. I feel like that's a label that maybe doesn't need to be there. It can just be like resonant creation. I mean, we can put a bunch of labels on it, right?
totally.
But yeah,
So
it just feels good.
I'm curious, um, because I recall your pearl, and when I read your pearl, and I gave you 32 minutes of it
Yeah.
versus 7 that I got. Never mind. I was just kidding.
All right.
I
It's on
just,
my agenda today. I'm gonna go back into it,
oh
go
my
deep for
God.
you.
No, no, I'm joking. This is total. But I remember in your pearl, there was this part of your work with others that had I think it was that resonance that you were talking about, that you had to have, you had to be almost very specific who you choose to do this for. And it had to be related to your truth and the way your heart is actually feeling it through. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it's either because so my pearl is 31, which we did leadership, arrogance, humility, and maybe it was the
Yeah.
line for charity.
Oh,
that's kind of like my desire to give things away, but being intentional about who it goes to or how it goes out. Maybe that's
yeah.
part of it, yeah.
And it was all somehow, and your 31 is what vocation? I forgot.
My third one is the pearl, yeah.
Oh, your 31 is pearl, which is
Mhm.
heart branding.
Yeah,
So all your roads somehow lead to heart. And I remember it was just so interesting, unless it's aligned to your soul,
yeah.
to who you deeply are, not mind. Mind will
Mhm.
give you the structure itself, but it almost sounds like you tapped into your heart and your soul, right?
Ah, yes.
Mm.
It's the way I can like describe it is in this podcast, I'm finding um less of my mind and more of my heart through the process. And I didn't know how to bring that into my work. And this feels like it is close to it. It's the relationship. And you pointed this out, I think in like 28, 27, when we talked, you were like, it's not about putting one perspective out anymore. It's about the relationship and about dialogue is so much better than monologue. There's such a higher quality to it. And I was like, yeah, 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 you're doing dialogue, I'm doing monologue. It's good. And now,
Yeah,
weeks later, I'm going through an evolution. And it's like
I love
the
it.
dialogue is everything. Nobody wants to hear a monologue, unless it's Shakespeare, beautifully done. But
Yeah.
we're in a different we're in a different world now. We want to be heard. We want to be felt and seen. And it's so important that we show up in a co-creative frame and not in one that's like, okay, sure, that system worked for you and you're sharing that system and I would love to participate in, but is there any give and take? Is there any feedback? Is there any consideration for my perspective or my realm or where I'm at in the process? And if not, I'm not going to take your course. I'm not going to watch your thing. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I
And you
think people
almost,
feel it because everyone's a creator influencer now. So it's like people are gaining the discernment because there's so much out there.
yeah. And they want to participate. Like,
Hmm.
you want to participate.
Yeah.
And we only know about one person on a stage and 10,000 in the audience. Yeah, it's never crowded out there, but you want to participate.
Hmm.
And the places where I attend, where I went to see, I mean, even when I was in audience, like I could only handle that much to be said what I want to participate.
Yeah.
I want to say, I want to enter. I want to feel I have space to enter, where
Yeah.
I get to also evolve together with you. Really
Yeah.
cool. Really cool.
When I was evolving out of religion, I would be in church and I'd be like sitting there and I'm like, I just want to go up there and say this and just see, like, I just want to like, maybe I should bring up this point or like, so I had to like write to like cope with it until eventually I'm like, I can't do it anymore because it's just pushing one idea and I'm like, there's so much more, even
Yeah.
in Christianity, there's so much depth there that just isn't being found because it's the idea of a pastor who knows more or who has better access or better connection.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, as churches evolved, there was an attempt to try to create more of a relationship, but we ended up we ended up in it because that's what in Catholic perspective, like the priest has direct access. So you ask the priest for the what do you call it? Like I will speak to the priest and the priest will then speak to God and then he will tell me what God says. And then as churches evolved, they moved away from that conceptually, but what ended up happening is like now there's a concert before it's like, a traditional rock concert before we access God. And then now you're on stage and it's a stadium seating and it's like what's happening? It's just the evolution of the same thing, the spiraling of the same thing. Sorry for that little rabbit trail, but
No, really cool, but true. And don't you feel like now leaders are chosen, and most of the time they don't want to lead?
example?
You,
Oh, yeah.
perfect example.
Oh, okay.
You're so like, I'm not a leader. I don't want to lead. I'm not. I'm backstage. And I'm like, you're front stage.
Yeah,
It comes out of you. And that's the beauty of leading. It's like you almost don't want to do it
I'm
because
grabbing
you,
my ears doing the
why?
this is body language and I'm so like keen to when I do it. This is like I'm uncomfortable.
Uh,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
So that's, I love it. I love that that's actually what the true leadership is. And
Hmm.
I would follow people that are humble enough to say, I'm not a leader. Don't
Hmm.
listen to me.
Just a second.
Right. I, oh, but baby's here. He woke up. Hi. Well, oh my God, it's two of them. Welcome,
Wanna say hi?
welcome. Say your name.
Don't eat it. Say hi.
What's your name, baby? Say your name
Say
to the
Koa.
world.
Say Koa. Stop eating it. Say Luca.
Luca, what do you have to say?
Did I say something to Malika?
Hi.
All right, guys.
Oh
I'm
my
gonna wrap up and I'll be
God.
out, okay? Thank you for saying hi. Can you shut the door, Luca? Thank you.
Oh my God. We just got guests. Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. This was really good. I know that they're up and they need you now, so I'll let you go.
Thank
But
you.
this was really beautiful. This was so good.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot
the
of
mornings are
different.
cool. I like the energy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And we're so slow. We're also
Yeah.
very grounded.
Hmm.
So
And
we
I love
keep going.
that. I love the background though.
Is this the first time you see this background?
Yeah.
Oh, do you like my
I love the
plant?
book stack with the plant holder because I keep getting attracted to it because in my house, that would be broken in
Oh,
10 minutes. I'm like,
oh,
it's so
that's why you have.
cool that it's just there.
Oh my God. Yeah, and it's the most, let me just show you and then I'll let you go. Hold on. It is the most sensitive plant ever. Look how thin it is.
Oh wow.
And it just sits in this masterpiece. And
The
it's
plant looks like,
fragile.
is it Asian?
I don't know. I bought this
Oh,
plant for me and my partner when we bought the house in Vegas first time. I can't put it down now. But oh well. Thank you for good time, and we continue
thank you.
next time. I love
All right.
you. Thank you so much.
See you for 33. Love you so much.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao. Yeah.